Han Wudi, from 141 to 87 BC, was one of the greatest Han emperors. Part of this reputation is due to the length of his rule. Continuity leads to success. However, Han Wudi's greatest fame came from his expansion of Chinese territory and the acquisition of neighboring territories through war. Thus, he is often called the martial emperor. However, I want to focus on why he expanded into certain territories, because this can tell us much about the big picture of East Asia. Han Wudi expanded along a narrow corridor reaching to the northwest of China. On the map, this appears somewhat striking as he ignored areas to the north and south of this strip. The reason behind his curious focus was trade. The prosperous Silk Road stretched through this corridor towards the Roman and Persian empires. Just as we discussed earlier with Mesopotamia, the concentration of valuable trade made this territory desirable. Peoples in between were already forming small states that facilitated this exchange of goods. Think of them as rest areas along an interstate. These smaller states took the goods from one direction of the Silk Road and then carried them on their way for a price. Taxes, caravans, protective soldiers, they all helped these states to grow. Bactria was one such state, and it lay at the end of the Han Wudi corridor. It was a Hellenistic nation that had formed in the ruins of Alexander the Great's conquests. Yet the area between Bactria and China's Great Wall boundary was harassed by nomadic peoples, such as the Xiongnu or Huns to the north. These peoples were raiding-based societies with little interest in state building and security. Han Wudi invaded these territories to extend the Chinese state and government to this region in order to secure the trade routes so valuable to China's urban elite. His efforts toward security ensured trade, but over the next several centuries, these surrounding regions gradually absorbed Chinese technology and culture, drawing them ever deeper into the Chinese sphere of influence. Han Wudi's southern expansions were similarly based upon the needs of his central state, particularly the urban centers of the north. But they were not primarily about protection or trade. Instead, these southern lands were the chief rice-producing regions, and the peoples practiced advanced agriculture, which you'll hear about in a later section. And this agriculture enabled them to produce nearly twice as much food per acre as the north. By conquering this region and establishing large plantation-style farms, the Han were able to feed an ever-growing urban population, reaching into the millions. Lastly, the Han later expanded into Korea, although there they were met with fierce resistance. They could not control the entire peninsula. Korea was important for its fishing waters and the tendency for pirates to harass China's northern coast. The southern part of this peninsula would have enabled easier trade with Japan, but this continued to elude the Chinese as the Koreans fought fiercely to hold it. Eventually, however, the Chinese were able to forge lasting supportive relationships with the Korean governments in exchange for favorable trade connections. The lesson I want you to see is to note how national, economic, and security concerns drove conquests and policy in the ancient world just as they do today.